'Twas in the moon of winter time, when all the birds had fled, that mighty Kitchy Manitou sent angel choirs instead. Before the light the stars grew dim, and wandering hunters heard the hymn. Jesus, your King is born. Jesus is born in excelsis Gloria. Within a lodge of broken bark, the tender babe was found. A ragged robe of rabbit skin enwrapped his beauty round, and as the hunter brave drew nigh, the angel's song rang loud and high. Jesus, your King is born. Jesus is born in excelsis Gloria. The earliest morn of winter time is not so round and fair, as was the ring of glory on the helpless infant there. The chiefs from afar before him knelt, with gifts of fox and beaver pelt. Jesus, your King is born. Jesus is born in excelsis Gloria.
Beautiful. Thank you, Liz Peters, for that beautiful music. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cedar Lane UU Universalist Church. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. My pronouns are he, him, one of the ministers serving this religious community. If you're new with us this morning, please let us know in the live chat. Whether you're joining us today for the first time or you've been with us for a long time, a lifetime, you are welcome here. Whoever you are and whomever you love, you are welcome here. Wherever you are on life's journey and however you arrived at our worship time this morning, you are welcome here. Whatever your beliefs, your gender identity and expression, your immigration status or political beliefs, you are welcome here. Thank you for taking a chance and taking the time to worship with us today. We invite you to fill out the newcomer form that is included in the chat. And if you've been attending for a while and feel moved to join this religious community, please reach out to our membership and communications coordinator, Nicole Kazi. Our pastoral visitors are an extension of our ministry team. They are available today in the chat to support you. I have a few quick announcements. An important ritual on Christmas Eve is our candle lighting and singing Silent Night. This year, of course, it is going to be a little different. So we invite you to pick up an LED candle between 2 and 4 p.m. today at the church. And tomorrow, we invite you to join us for a pre-recording of the Sharing the Light ritual on Zoom. Please check the e-news for registration information. Also, we have two special services on Christmas Eve at 4 and at 9 p.m. The 4 p.m. service is a family service with a wonderfully and creatively retold of the Nativity story. And the 9 p.m. is our usual UU lessons and carol service. And both services have some wonderful and gorgeous music. So I hope you will join us for both services. And last but not least, a very special welcome to our former intern minister, the Reverend Kristen Green, who is joining us for worship today. And hearty congratulations to her for her appointment as the assistant minister at the UU congregation in Fairfax. Congratulations, Kristen. As we enter this worship experience of reflection and remembrance, joys and sorrows, generosity and compassion, let us be mindful of the land where our beloved church community is situated. Let us be mindful of the Piscataway, Nakoktank, Anacostia people who have walked these lands for 1,000 years and more. Let us remember those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward. Let us remember all who have gone before us, whose vision and labor helped create and sustain this, our religious community. In this spirit, we gather. In this spirit, we begin. Let us turn now and greet and welcome each other in the chat.
We are in the midst of the season of celebration.
Celebrations of waiting in the nourishing dark, of the birth of new hope, of the festival of lights, of the triumph of freedom.
We have gathered with anticipation of hope for peace on earth and in our homes.
We have gathered in this season of celebrations, seeking comfort to soften the pain of the losses our lives have suffered in this fast retreating year.
We have gathered to worship within the season of celebrations, with the tenderness of love and family and friends around us.
Let us be embraced by the strength and power of this sacred space that we each bring as we create this beloved community.
Let joy and sorrow join in the fullness of our lives.
Let the power and strength we embody join us together as we move through the seasons of celebration into a new year with a new vision of hope for peace on earth and goodwill to all.
Good morning. I'm Jared Wilson. My pronouns are he, him. I'm one of the worship associates for today's service. As my family, Katrina, James, and Diana, light our chalice in Silver Spring, Maryland, I invite you to share where you are lighting your chalice in the chat. Join me in sharing the chalice lighting words on your screen. We kindle the chalice flame this holiday season, a chalice of hope where despair keeps watch, a chalice of courage for fears ever present, a chalice of peace for tempest-tossed days, a chalice of grace to ease heavy burdens, a chalice of love to inspire all our living, a chalice of joy amidst the sadness, a chalice that will burn all year long in our hearts and minds.
Emmanuel means God is with us.
Who is your Emmanuel? Who is your God is with us? The one you were promised, the one you have been waiting for.
For the ancient prophet Isaiah, he was a boy, soon to be born, who would guide the people of Judah back to peace and harmony with God. He would bring hope for victory and greatness in the tribe. He would be a gift from God to his chosen people. Who is your Emmanuel? Your God is with us.
For Christians, he is Jesus of Nazareth, the baby in the Christmas story, who grew to be a remarkable teacher among the Jewish people, whose ideas about love, forgiveness, and justice changed the world forever. Who is your Emmanuel? Your God is with us.
Perhaps your Emmanuel is a political leader working for the rights of the oppressed, a Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a Mahatma Gandhi, a Mother Jones, a Malala Yousafzai. Perhaps in their work with people, You feel God is with us. Who is your Emmanuel? Your God is with us.
Perhaps your Emmanuel is an artist, bringing transcendence to the human spirit and lifting our hopes and dreams into the light. A Duke Ellington, a Martha Graham, a Langston Hughes. Perhaps in the presence of great beauty and creativity, you feel God is with us. Who is your Emmanuel? Your God is with us.
Perhaps it is a child, the child who is filled with the potential to do every great thing. Your promise from God that the world has hope for justice and beauty. For in the presence of a child, we too can feel that God is with us all.
Emmanuel, God is with us.
God is with us. Thank you, Leslie and Jessica, for that beautiful reading. To be honest, I've been low-key angry with God for much of 2020. I needed to be angry with God because I needed a container where I could place my anger for the injustices and deep wounds of this country that we as a nation have been trying to cover with old Band-Aids, when what we really need is a good, clean bandage and a drawing salve. I felt angry at the God who would allow these wounds to fester for 400 years. I wanted to cry out so many times this year, as Jesus may have cried out at his state-sanctioned execution, God, oh God, why have you forsaken me? I looked around this year, and it was hard for me to find my Emmanuel, to know that God was with me. And then the seasons started to change. The sun disappeared earlier and earlier each day. When I was a little girl, I didn't know that there was anything more to the season of Advent than opening a cardboard window in those calendars you can buy at the grocery store and eating a little bit of chocolate. As a kid, I was doing nothing more than counting down the days until Santa would come. But the idea of counting down the days during the time of the year when the days are getting shorter and shorter followed me into adulthood. When I became a religious professional, I started to deepen my practice and understanding of Advent. Advent is traditionally celebrated by Catholics, so observing the season of Advent became a way for me to stay connected with my grandmother. Each of the 4 Sundays before Christmas, a candle is lit to represent peace, love, hope, and joy. Not coincidentally, the countdown to Christmas coincides closely with the countdown to the return to longer days. In the 3rd century, prior to Christianity becoming the state religion of Rome, the Romans celebrated the rebirth of the unconquered sun on December 25th. This year, Advent has taken on a new meaning for me. Each day of Advent, I'm trying to balance the season of anticipation and preparation by slowing down, turning off the news, silencing social media, and noticing stillness. As I contemplate on stillness and take a photo each day, I'm reminded that God has not forsaken me, because that is not the way God works. It is not God who irresponsibly responded to this pandemic. It is not God who created racist policies in our country. And it is not God who is implementing online preschool for my 4-year-old. No. God is in the stillness. God is in the moments my drowsy toddler curls up in my arms and puts his head in the same place he slept as an infant. God is in the heron resting on the boardwalk and contemplating her dinner. God is in the mess on my desk that reminds me how much abundance I have in my life. So much abundance, it is literally overflowing in piles of paper. And God is in the early sunsets that are both magnificent and humble. As we pray for peace, hope, love, and joy to find us as the days become longer again, I invite you to notice the stillness. In the stillness, you might just find the answer to the question, who is your Emmanuel? Your God is with us.
Children of the earth, we have come to sing to each other, sister to brother, songs of our mother. Children of the earth, our tongue soon will breathe her last breath, and quicken her death, bear witness to winter's birth. Children of the earth, can you feel the air getting cold as darkness takes hold and sleep covers Mother Earth? Children of the earth, we have come to sit in the darkness, breathe in the silence, think of our Mother Earth.
Thank you, Jenny Lynn, for sharing that beautiful, beautiful chant. Each year in my home, we share the story of Yule, the story of the winter solstice, which is one of the 8 major holidays that are marked by the pagan wheel of the year. In my home, we shut off all of the lights in the house, and we stand together in the dark and tell a tale of what it must have been like for all of the beloved ancestors we hold dear on the longest night of the year, having entered into a time where animals were brought in from the cold, where the family had been huddled together, where sickness would be rampant, from the cold, where food stores might be running low, and the worries about the months to come. Would they be too cold for planting to start in February? What would be next, when those worries were also held close? Maybe people would gather together and tell stories to keep their spirits up. And then on this, the longest night, perhaps someone would venture out close to dawn and give the shout that the light has been reborn. And in our home, we light this candle to signify that the worst of this time is over, and that from this moment forward, the sun will rise 1 minute sooner and set 1 minute later. And that even if the snow comes, the earth will be ready for planting in planting season. The stirring of the seeds will begin to do their work in February, and we can just hold on each day, watching that light grow longer and longer with the days, as the wheel at this time, on this day, which is Yule, the wheel is turning. And for me, this year, the story has an even deeper, more real meaning, more personal than perhaps it ever has before. As I think about this time, we've been in our homes. When the shutdowns happened, we came indoors. My oldest son came home at 22 for a period of time. We huddled together, like many of you. And now, in this time of the turning of the wheel, there are hopeful changes that are happening in our world. I feel hopeful with some of these cabinet picks coming in. That has been a light for my heart. Some of us are seeing our loved ones who are on the front lines getting vaccinated. Some of us have been vaccinated, and that gives me hope. Dear ones, the wheel is turning today. What will you celebrate with me? Amen, and blessed be.
Perhaps, for a moment, the typewriters will stop clicking, the wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant, in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness and then gracefully tilts. Let there be a season when holiness is heard and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe, there moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis toward love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled in a swaying embrace, rocked by the holy night, babes of the universe. Let this be the time we wake to life, like spring wakes in the moment of winter solstice.
Softly the snow begins to fall. Slowly the night turns into into darkness as we begin the longest night of all.
Watching, waiting, light is fading on the longest night of all.
Looking around, we see the darkness turning within. We hope for light. Here in a circle, deep in dreaming, silent we wait throughout the night. Watching, waiting, light is fading on the longest night of all. Oh, can you see it? Can you feel it? Has a different time begun? Here in the dark of late December comes the brightness of the sun. Watching, waiting, light is fading on the longest night of all. Watching, waiting, light is fading on the longest night of all.
Come down from the hills, declare the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory. Even when the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not retreated, only coiled back like a snake prepared to strike again.
Come down. Try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set, in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here.
Come down and settle. Unlearn the years of hiding. Light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set the lamps in the window.
Declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear.
I say, you are the stuff from which miracles are made.
Ma'otso Yeshuati Chanahel Shabeya Tikon Betfilati Shatotan Isabeya Yetahim Aleya She is Rock of ages, let our song praise thy saving power. Thou midst a raging foe was our sheltering tower. Pure as they sailed us and thy word broke the sword when our own strength failed us, and thy word broke the sword when our own strength failed us.
Chanukah is the Jewish festival of lights. It's the time when we celebrate the spirit of resilience, the spirit of courage, and the spirit of the miracle of light. On Chanukah, we recognize that within each and every one of us, a light shines. We recognize that within each of our hearts, we bear a torch that has the power to ignite compassion, to ignite love, to ignite peace, and to ignite a better world, a brighter world. My blessing for us in this darkest time of the year is that we tap into the light of the season, and we tap into that very light source that is within us, implanted in our souls, implanted in our being. I pray that we recognize that we are each lamplighters in this world with great power to illuminate blessing, to illuminate peace, and to illuminate a better society. As the prophet Zechariah stated, not by might, not by power, but by spirit alone, thus said the Lord. May we see and feel the presence of that spirit within us and around us during this season and throughout the year. Happy Festival of Lights.
Thank you, Rabbi Upbin and Eve. That was wonderful. Every Sunday during worship, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it's through financial pledges that we build our budget and fund our mission and ministries of worship and religious education, pastoral care, and social justice. We pay our staff and professional religious leaders and finance the comfort and beauty of our buildings and grounds. We pass the plate during our worship service to make a community expression of thanks for the blessing of abundance, to visibly bring in the harvest at this most cherished hour of our week. Our offering says that the act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else that we do here on Sunday mornings. And this week, we are giving to support the rebuilding efforts of the historic Middle Collegiate Church in the East Village of New York City, which was severely damaged in a fire on December 5th. Its senior minister, the Reverend Dr. Jackie Lewis, is a bold, prophetic leader and a dear friend of Reverend Abhi. She's a partner in our justice efforts. Middle Collegiate Church has served as a beacon of hope for the community and nation with its deep commitment to LGBTQIA+ rights, social justice, and an enduring call to loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. Reverend Jackie and this faith community have welcomed thousands into their doors and programs over the years. The work of Middle Collegiate Church will go on, as Reverend Jackie said so poignantly, because no fire can stop revolutionary love. We're going to share a video with you. And in this season of giving, amidst such a loss, we ask you to join with us to give generously as Middle Collegiate rebuilds and charts their next steps. You can give by the electronic means of our modern times, text or online giving, PayPal or QR code, or by mailing a check to the church. Today's offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
Isn't this light and amazing?
This loss is a big one. Middle Church burned to the ground yesterday in a fire in the East Village of New York City. This is not just a church building, it's a sanctuary. I'd searched my whole life for a community that lived love and poured itself out for the healing of the world in radical diversity, inclusivity, and prophetic imagination. Middle Church is that place, and my pastor and friend, Reverend Jackie Lewis, is that leader.
Mary and Joseph took their little Jewish baby to Egypt and were welcomed there. That's a poor, brown, homeless refugee baby.
This is a church where all religious backgrounds, all beliefs and no beliefs, and all orientations are not just welcome, but treasured as holy, because every living creature is. In a year where so many are isolated, alone, and in deep grief, it feels cruel that a community that lives interconnected, alchemical, anti-racist, equity, inclusion, beauty, and joy would have its home stolen. The only thing that makes sense is to extend the love this place breathes, lives, and generates back out into the world as a protest, as a resistance to despair, as an antidote to collapse.
All that matters is that you love. Period. Love. Period.
So if you feel you cannot bear one more ounce of loss, may you be comforted. If you feel you cannot handle one more moment of anxious waiting, may you find community, the enduring strength of warm memory, the tenderness of nature. So from my heart and Middle's heart to everyone's, be well. This loss reminding us it's not circumstances that dictate that wellness, but a love that comes from within, so without, and from above, so below. And this love is still very, very alive.
This is the best job I've ever had. Ever. I will never leave it. They're going to have to drag me out when I'm old and I don't have any teeth. No one's going to want to do that.
What
Thank you, Children's Choir, Jenny Crane, Susan Easterly, and Ashley and Dana for those beautiful pictures and the music that really warms our hearts and reminds us of nativity animals past. And thank you, everyone, for all your contributions in today's service that in turn has helped us really center ourselves and be able to feel the spirit of the holidays in so many different ways. And now this perennial favorite that I find myself returning to every Christmas, the Nativity Pageant by Unitan Universalist minister and author Robert Fulgham. Our church had not had a full-blown Christmas pageant in years. For one thing, we had become fairly rational and efficient about the season, content to let the Sunday school observe the event on their own turf in a low-key way. Then, too, there was the last time we had gone all out. That week of the pageant coincided with an outbreak of measles, chickenpox, and the flu. The night of the pageant, there was a sleet storm, a partial power failure that threw some people's clocks off, and one of the sheep hired for the occasion got diarrhea. That was about par for the course, since Joseph and two wise men managed to both cry and wet their pants. And to top it off, the choir of teenagers walking about in an irresponsible manner with lighted candles created more a feeling of fear and the wrath of God than a feeling of peace on earth. I don't think it was really all that bad, and maybe all those things didn't happen in the same year, but a sufficient number of senior ladies in the church had had it up to here with the whole hoo-ha and tended to squelch any suggestion of another pageant. But you see, nostalgia is strong, and it addled the brains of those same senior ladies as they considered the pleas of younger mothers who had not been through this ritual ordeal and would not be dissuaded. It was time their children had their chance. And so, in short order, people who kept saying, "I ought to know better," were right in there making angel costumes out of old bed sheets, cardboard, and chicken feathers. One of the young mothers was pregnant, and it was made very clear to her in loving terms that she was expected to come with a real newborn child by early December. She vowed to try. An angel choir was lashed into singing shape. A real manger with real straw was obtained, and while there was consensus on leaving out live sheep this time, some enterprising soul managed to borrow 2 small goats for the evening. But the real coup was renting a live donkey for the Mother Mary to ride in on. Now, none of us had ever seen a live donkey ridden through a church chancel, and it seemed like such a fine thing to do at the time. We made one concession to sanity, deciding to have the thing on a Sunday morning in the full light of day so we could see what we were doing. No candles either, and no full rehearsal. These things are supposed to be a little hokey anyway, and nobody was about to go through the whole thing twice. The great day came, and everybody arrived at church. Husbands who are not known for regular attendance came, probably for the same reason they would be attracted to a nearby bus wreck. It wasn't all that bad, really, at least not early on. The goats did get loose in the parking lot and put on quite a rodeo with the shepherds. But we hooted out the carols with full voice, and the angel choir got through its first big number almost on key and in unison. The star of Bethlehem was lit over the manger, and it was time for the entrance of Joseph and Mary, with Mary riding on the U-Haul donkey, carrying what later proved to be a Raggedy Andy doll, since the pregnant lady was overdue. It was the donkey that proved our undoing. The donkey made 2 hesitant steps through the door of the chancel, took a look at the whole scene, and seized up, locked his legs, put his whole body in a cement condition well beyond rigor mortis, and the procession ground to a screeching halt. Now, there are things you might consider doing to a donkey in private to get it to move, but there is a limit to what you can do in church on a Sunday morning in front of families and little children. Jerking on his halter and some wicked kicking on the part of the Virgin Mary had no effect. So, the president of the Board of Trustees, hope you're paying attention, Todd, seated in the front row and dressed in his Sunday best, rose to the rescue. The floor of the chancel was polished cement, and so, with another man pulling at the halter, the president crouched at the stern end of the donkey and pushed, slowly sliding the rigid beast across the floor inch by inch. With progress being made, the choir director turned on the tape recorder, which blared forth a mighty chorus from the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, accompanied by the Philadelphia Orchestra. Now, just as the donkey and his mobilizers reached mid-church, the tape recorder blew a fuse, and there was sudden silence. And in that silence, an exasperated voice from the backside of the donkey. "Move your ass, you stupid donkey!" Followed immediately by a voice from the rear of the church, the president's wife. "Leon, shut your filthy mouth!" And that's when the donkey brayed. If we had held an election for jackass that day, there would have been several candidates mentioned. We are such fun to watch when we do what we do. And though it has been several years since the church held another Christmas pageant, we've not seen the last one. The memory of the laughter outlives the memory of the hassle. And hope always makes us believe that this time, this year, we will get it right. That's the whole deal with Christmas, I guess. It's just real life, only a lot more of it all at once than usual. And I suppose we will continue doing it all, get frenzied and confused and frustrated and even quite mad, and also get excited and hopeful and quietly pleased. We will laugh and cry and pout and ponder, spend too much, and as always, we will sing only some of the verses and most of those off key. We will do it again and again and again. We are the Christmas pageant, the whole damn thing. And I think it's best to just let it happen. As at least one person I know can attest, getting pushy about it is trouble. The end. That's a beautiful story that really captures the spirit and essence of the Christmas season, in which we are reminded, despite all the pain and the sorrow, despite all the hassles and the challenges, the crises and the calamities that we hold, carry, and deal with in our lives, there is still room for joy, for hope, for peace, and for love that will not let us go. And to those we say, Amen. And please join me now in singing Joy to the World.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven nature sing, and hell and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains. Repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. No more the sins and sorrows grow, the thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow. As far as sin is found, as far as sin is found. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
I'm grateful to all the participants in today's Spirit Experience, my colleagues, the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin and Dana Edwards, our worship associate team, Stephanie Williams, Jessica Sawyer, Leslie Wasson, Babs Ricketts, Jared Wilson, and Fran Flieger, our amazing musicians, Jenny Crane, and the Children's Choir, and Susan Easterly, Dr. Jasmine Lee, the Cedar Lane Quartet, the Cedar Lane Choir, the Potomac Partnership Choirs, and my dear friend, Fred Johnson. I'm also grateful to our audiovisual and visual arts team, Don Woodruff, Barb Thompson, Michael McRickard, Mike Morse, Todd Chanukah, and Rebecca Nachtrieb for those beautiful in-gathering slides. And our membership staff and pastoral volunteers who have been active in the live chat. Please note that we have two special services on Christmas Eve, Thursday, December 24th, a family service at 4 p.m. with an amazing nativity story and music, and at 9 p.m. our traditional UU lessons and carol service, again with some wonderful music and inspiring readings. Both services will be on our Cedar Lane's YouTube channel. And a very special thank you to my dear friend and colleague, the Rabbi Danielle Upbin and Eve Goldstein, for the beautiful Rock of Ages rendition and reflection. I close our time together with yet another favorite of mine that I have shared for our holiday services. This comes to us from my colleague, the Reverend John Gibbons. The Lost and Found pet notice reads as follows. Lost, one large and lively multicolored nondescript mutt. Ragged, left ear, one-eyed, three-legged, missing tail. Answers to the name Lucky. Reward, beloved. And so the holiday is upon us. Large, lively, multicolored, and hard to describe. The celebrations are a bit worse for wear, sometimes shabby, oft abused. We, the celebrants, at least those above a certain age, are a bit dog-eared ourselves, and some of us bear the scars of unfestive days past. Nonetheless, the old bounding mutt of December still answers to the name lucky. Despite all that is missing and all that is too much and all that is lost, there is in this season an abiding delight that we are still alive, still sniffing, still licking hands and faces, still barking and howling at the moon, still risking life, limb, and tail, and still able to sleep and dream curled warm on the rug. We are all disfigured. Life has taken its huge toll, but we are lucky to be living in these beloved days and beloved nights. So may we find delight, and may delight also find us. There is a reward. Go in peace, go making peace, living gently, loving mightily, and bowing and breathing into the mystery. So may it be.
Come, they told me, a newborn king to see, our finest gifts we bring, to lay before our king, all to honor him, when we come. So I have no gift to bring, oh, I have no gift to bring, a gift to fit a king, oh, may I play for you, on my drum. The ox and lamb kept time, oh, I played my drum for him, oh, I played my best for him, and he smiled at me, me and my drum. Then he smiled at me, me and my drum. Christmas.